everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome into Morning in the Valley. It is Friday, May the 9th. Glad you are with us today. A sort of dreary, overcast, gross kind of day here in West Kentucky. Hope the sun's shining wherever you may be. Coming up today, here in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk with the new men's basketball coach at Drake University, Eric Henderson, a successful run at South Dakota State, and now he will try to continue the incredible run this Drake Bulldog program has been on. 3 straight trips to the NCAA tournament, 4 out of the last 5 years. A great run. Darren DeVries rolling right into Ben McCollum, and now the Eric Henderson journey and experience has begun. So we'll talk with Coach Henderson here coming up in about 10 minutes. Before we get to headlines of the morning, I saw early this morning, I guess it was late last night, out in Hawaii, the news broke. And this is really just kind of, you got to be kind of deep into the weeds of college basketball nerds to probably have some interest in this news, but people certainly of my age remember it, if only almost its legendary and maybe mythical place in the game of college basketball, but we of course never saw it. I guess the news of the morning is that Merv Lopes, who was the head coach at Chaminade back in 1982, when Chaminade beat the University of Virginia in the out of the Maui Invitational. That was in the days before social media. That was it was like the Bigfoot of college basketball. We'd heard about it. At that time I was 7 years old at that time. 43 years ago. It was just this Chaminade. Every year they play whoever the biggest of big boys is out there in Maui. And, at the time, I think they still are an NAIA school, and Virginia came in as the number 1 school in the country. And Ralph Sampson, all 7'4" of him. I mean, the number 1 team in America playing an NAIA team. You wouldn't think that'd be light work for the big boy. But on that night, 77-72, Chaminade got the win. And there's a famous picture from the newspaper, one of the Chaminade players just sitting on top of the rim, sort of straddling the rim with the backboard against his back in celebration of really, it's on the shortest of short lists of greatest upsets in college basketball history. And Merv Lopes passed away yesterday, 92 years old. He was the architect of that upset, the head coach of that team. And just from a basketball historical standpoint, we know, if you are old enough, you have heard of Chaminade. Again, it was not on TV. No one saw it, but I will 100% admit to the fact, as much as I, again, from a mythical standpoint, hearing about Chaminade and knowing about that upset and it's referenced, almost every year, when at the Maui Invitational. I had never heard of the name Merv Lopes until this morning, but may he rest in peace at 92 years old, and certainly a forgotten but still pretty important piece of college basketball history. All right. Well, speaking of going to nice, warm places to play basketball, that is where we start our headline of the morning, and that is the Evansville Purple Aces, as the brackets have been released. We're getting the trickle of non-conference schedules coming out, and then holy cow, we've got a whole bracket. I mean, this is Christmas morning for us schedule nerds, as they will be at the Paradise Jam down at the U.S. Virgin Islands, November 21st to the 24th. David Ragland's bunch will be down there. We found out the opening matchup, and this was an interesting thing yesterday because they actually had to retract the bracket and put out a new one, because the way they seed the 8 teams, as you see there, Green Bay, Yale, UMass, Charleston, Iona, Akron, Evansville, and Oregon State, they actually seed them 1 through 8 according to their net ranking from a year before. And as we know in college basketball, what you were last year is hardly indicative of what you're going to be this coming season. So there may be some teams that we will look back and say they were very misseeded when they actually get on the floor there in November. But last year's net rankings, you had Iona was at 252, Evansville was at 257, and for whatever reason, earlier in the day when the first bracket was released, they had those 2 teams flip-flopped, because you had Evansville meeting with Akron, and then that bracket magically disappeared, and then, hey, we've got a new one, and now Evansville dropped into that 7 seed spot, and they will open up with Oregon State in the opening round of the tournament. It's interesting just having been with Murray State down at the Diamond Head Classic, how many of those schools are now going to the U.S. Virgin Islands. Oregon State was in that tournament. Charleston was in that tournament as well. But you see the 4 matchups: Evansville, Oregon State, Akron, Iona, Yale, Green Bay, and then Charleston and UMass. So Akron, the number 3 seed at a 91 net, Oregon State, the 2 seed with an 85, Yale with a 72. So in theory, we have some good teams down there. That Evansville, again, they'll open up with Oregon State. You just hope that those the past results will be, will roll into the future, and they will be good again next season for non-conference opportunity for the Aces. So the tournament will start on Friday, November the 21st. That's the opening round. The losers who go into the consolation bracket will play then on Saturday. The championship bracket semifinals will be on Sunday the 23rd, and then all 8 teams will play on that final day coming up on Monday, November the 24th. Are also we're learning some more about their non-conference schedule as our friend Rocco Miller over at bracketeer.org, one of the guys that is involved a lot in non-conference scheduling. He reported yesterday that Southern Illinois will be on the road to take on the Wolfpack of Nevada coming up November the 12th. Nevada, good team from out west, 78 in the KenPom last year. Last year, a little bit of a disappointment, 17-16. No word on this one if this is a bye game or if it is a home and home. My gut tells me it's probably a bye game for Scott Nagy's bunch. Speaking of Scott Nagy, he will be with us next Wednesday here on the program. So the Salukis with another road piece, and the road pieces are starting to come together for SIU. 2 of the games that we know they will play, dates yet to be determined. Return games from home and homes from a season ago. They will be at High Point at some point. High Point was an NCAA tournament team last year. They were a 13 seed in the tournament, finished 82 in the KenPom, and then they'll also go to North Dakota State, who was a 21 win team last season. So for now, we know SIU is going to be at Nevada. We believe they'll also be at High Point and North Dakota State. Sometimes those home and homes, the back end sometimes gets kicked a year for one reason or another, but that is where the Salukis are right now. As we turn our attention now to player acquisitions, a new acquisition on the board in Terre Haute, Indiana, as head coach Matthew Graves has gotten a commitment from Truman State transfer Xavier Hall, a Division II school, of course, Truman State. Xavier Hall will have 1 year of eligibility coming back to Terre Haute, as he was a very good player for this Truman State team last year, averaged nearly 15 points a game, 5.8 assists per game, which was 13th best in all of Division II last season. But he was also able to score. Again, the 15 points didn't come by accident. Better than 48% from the field, 42.5% from the three-point line, 86% from the stripe. So a very good offensive piece there for Matthew Graves at Indiana State. It is rare. It feels rare that we talk about freshmen coming into programs now. It's all about who's in the portal, what transfers you can get, but there are still freshmen being recruited, and there still are freshmen being signed, and that is the case at Bradley, as Brian Wardle, not signed yet, but committed, as he has gotten a commitment from 6'4" combo guard Jackson Seastrunk from Xavier Academy outside of Houston, Texas. He is, again, 6'4" guard, average 17.5 points, 4.5 rebounds per game. Interestingly enough, he is a teammate, and this we have seen instances of this where coaches, whether it has been going to the same college and getting a couple transfers. These are 2 high school players from Xavier Academy that Brian Wardle has gone and gotten both of them. Back in the fall, he had signed Montana Wheeler, who was a 5'10" guard. And a quick sidebar on that. I don't know that amazed is the right word. I'm just impressed is probably the best word, that Brian Wardle does not care if you are 5'9" or 5'10" or 5'7", whatever Duke Dean is, whatever, they just keep bringing in guys that can play. And we have seen small guards in Peoria do great things. And that is Montana Wheeler will come in at 5'10", but a teammate of Jackson Seastrunk, Dave Eminian from the Peoria Star-Journal, reporting that Seastrunk will likely redshirt and that Bradley down to one more scholarship to fill, and they are looking for one more developmental big, is what Dave Eminian set up there in Peoria. All right, we have made our guest wait long enough. Want to welcome in the new head coach of the Drake Bulldog men's basketball program. He is Eric Henderson. Coach, good morning to you. Welcome in.
Jeff, well, thanks for having me. It's great to be in Des Moines and be a Bulldog. And I know there's many challenges ahead in this league, but we're certainly excited to be here.
I watched your press conference, your introductory press conference, and the thing that struck me, and we talk a lot in the media about winning the press conference, and that means a lot of things to a lot of people. But the thing that struck me about you was the unbridled enthusiasm. I said, if I'm a Drake fan, I walked out of there feeling like $1 million that our program's in good hands. And it wasn't because, you know, you sold me a used car up there and you were real smooth and slick, but it was just, there was almost this, it was like a puppy dog getting out in the field, and it was like feeling grass under his toes and just so excited to be there. Did I read the room right with that?
Well, that's for those people to figure out, you know what I mean? But I know this. It was an exciting time, and I'm so excited to be back in the state of Iowa and to be part of the Missouri Valley Conference, and I know the success that's been surrounded by Drake basketball, and just to be a part of that. You know, heck, I've been a second grade teacher. Like I said, I mean, there's really no other way to look at life is than to be energetic and enthusiastic, and I look at things with a glass half full type attitude, and that's all the way I've always been, my man.
You talked a lot about alignment in your interview. I know how important alignment is with no matter what the job is, with an employee and a boss, and boss is up the chain. How long did it take for you to go in there and just feel like, okay, we're whatever the same page is, we're most certainly on it?
Well, like I was at a really good spot, you
Sure.
know, at South Dakota State. We had a lot of success there, and the support was terrific. In that alignment that you're talking about, Jeff, was there. But right away, the first time that I met with Brian, um, we talked for 4 straight hours. Went to the bathroom one time, and it felt like we were there an hour, right? And I understood, had a great understanding, I should say, of what his philosophy is, what he was looking for, and how he looks at things. And there was just so many similarities with the student athlete experience, the value based education piece, and all those just really came together quickly. And of course, we want to win at a high level, right? But we also don't want to lose sight of some of those other educational pieces that are part of a program. And so we're going to work our tails off, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of variables that you really can't control that are going to help determine outcomes. So we're just going to worry about the things that we can control.
Drake's athletic department put out a little mini video, I guess, of the first time. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were hired sight unseen. I mean, you had not been to campus, so you came to campus a couple days after and got the grand tour. And I think I counted 6 times in a 90-second video. You said either "Wow" or "This is awesome." Looking around, the new car smell still strong there in Des Moines for you?
Oh yeah, it's really strong. You know, I had been here, you know, Coach DeVries and I are good friends. Actually, Darren was my AAU basketball coach, and one of them, I should say. And so, you know, I had been up here probably 6 or 7 years ago. But has it changed in the amount of resources that they put into this place to make it better? It is really incredible. And so I hadn't been back in since, and so just coming to campus that first day, I think it was a Monday after the Friday I was hired. was really special. Just seeing the improvements that they've made, the facilities piece is pretty important. Part of the experience that our guys are going to get, and they've done a terrific job in upgrading those, and we're very proud of them.
It's also a little bit different when you walk in and now it's your home. So you're not a visitor anymore. You get the keys to the front door.
That's for sure. It is a little different.
I want to talk about Greg McDermott for a minute. He is somebody that has been so entwined through this league for so long. Played in at Northern Iowa, obviously a coach there at UNI and in Creighton, and now he's got parts of his tree are here now. Ryan Miller, a guy that worked for him for 4 years down at Murray State. You played for him once upon a time. What was it? And worked for him. What was it like playing for Greg McDermott, and what did you maybe learn all those years ago that you can now apply to your coaching career?
Well, it was a tremendous experience. I mean, the things that I learned probably most from just playing for him was you always knew where you stood, like honesty. He was extremely direct, but he was able to make people feel so good and made everybody on the team. It didn't matter what your role was. He made you feel like you were the most important member of that team's success. And so that's how I try to be. I try to make our players feel really confident, make them feel extremely valued. But within that, you have to be very honest with them. You have to be very direct with them, and very clear communication, I think, is really, really important. So there's no surprises. And when there's no surprises, I think you can feel, connectivity with your teammates. And we were a very connected group back in the late 90s at Wayne State. And when you look at Mac's teams now, and they play so well together, they complement each other so well, and you can just see the joy that they have playing the game. And so he makes it fun, right? The system is really enjoyable. And so those are a lot of the things that, like, I've tried to take along my career, and help me improve every day, and make our program better, by kind of emulating some of the things that he did, back when I was a player.
Was it different playing for him than working for him, I guess, as a manager? And you'll have to fill me in. What's a learning specialist? Was your title there at Iowa State with him?
Yeah, well, it was pretty fun, honestly. I practiced most days with him. Me and Eric Crawford did, a former Missouri Valley stud as well. We were both, general or graduate managers, I think is what we were called, so we could work them out and play with them and all that stuff. But we practiced almost every single day, so I had like an 8 to 9 year college career, like some of these guys get now. So it was pretty fun, to be honest with you. But there's no pressure. I didn't get to play in games, so I wasn't trying to earn anything. But it was a little different on the other side, just trying, being in all those coaches meetings, and trying to get the inside scoop with, how he put it all together and different things like that was pretty cool. Now, we didn't have a lot of success when we were at Iowa State, but it was still a fun experience. And then a learning specialist, I was done with my master's degree, and I was, sticking on and trying to stay on. And so, he said, well, why don't you do this for us, Hendo? And I have an education background, as many know. And so I, like, in the mornings, I was in the Jeepers Academic Success Center, and helping our guys with their academics, helping organize that stuff and setting up tutors and different things like that. So it was fun, but it certainly wasn't coaching basketball. I can promise you that.
You kind of bounced around early from high school, and then you went and worked with Coach McDermott. You went back to high school and coached for 5 years and did some athletic director work, some principal work, and all of that. But after 5 years, and at that point in your life, from the outside, you could be like, okay, I'm this is what I'm going to be. And then you made another turn again to go back to the college game and get to North Dakota State as an assistant there in 2014. What prompted you to go, this isn't what I want to do anymore, and I want to get back to the college game?
Yeah, I think it was a couple different things. Number one, it was just I was in a good spot. Like, I was enjoying what I was doing, but it felt like I probably wasn't quite full. And I wanted to work with just a little bit better of an athlete at the end of the day, a little bit higher level athlete. And so, I was looking at different colleges, different ways to get back in the game. And then the second thing is just happenstance. Dave Richmond, ended up, he was a grad assistant for 1 year. I think it was Mac's very first year at Northern Iowa. And he got the job when Saul Phillips got the Ohio job, and he was looking for a guy that was young and could work with the bigs and help develop the post play. And he was talking to Coach Mack one time, and he said, "Well, what do you think about Hendo? Have you ever met Hendo?" And he's like, "Not really, one time." And he's like, "But I think it's a good idea." So we met, and we hit it off the very, very first time that we got together. And about a week later, he offered me the job, and the rest is kind of history, to be honest with you.
Is there still a part of you that looks back at that time to leave Burlington Catholic Central in 2014, and 5 years later, you are the head coach at South Dakota State University? I mean, that is a wild ascension to go from that to. I mean, it wasn't, hey, I got an NAIA job or Division III job. It's like you're a Division I head coach 5 years after coaching a high school team.
Yeah, when you look back at it like that, Jeff, it is kind of surreal, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, I think I just take the approach, you know, just to wherever you're at, just do the very, very best you can. And, I think some people realize that, and realized, some of the leadership skills that I've had. And I've never really thought about, like, I didn't never have goals and dreams of, hey, someday I want to be a Division I head basketball coach. Well, that was never really in my mind, to be honest with you. I just, whatever opportunity came to me at that time, hey, is it a good opportunity for me and my family? If it's a yes, let's do it. If it's a no, let's continue to be happy with where we're at. And so I just think that's, that approach, I think, can really help you. I mean, when you're not looking for what's next, usually good things come.
You were really good at South Dakota State. I mean, 6 years. Matt's right. You got 4 regular season titles. You go to the NCAA tournament twice. Again, was there a point of, man, I'm on a heater right now? Like, this is what. How is this going so well and continuing to, it's like, okay, hey, if you have early success, people always like, he's got this old coach, the old coach's guys and whatever. But it's like, you were there long enough and you just kept stacking wins and championships. What was it about this that you have just taken to it like a duck to water and just been so successful as a head coach, especially in a profession that has changed so greatly here in the last 5 or 6 years?
Well, at South Dakota State, we had a lot of continuity. I mean, when TJ left for UNLV, I mean, our roster was depleted. And so the first thing that I did was I built a staff that I trusted, that I believed in. And we found a core value system based approach that we wanted to use every single day, whether it's in recruiting, whether it's playing, whether it's, in the classroom or in the community. And we've stuck to it. And fortunately, my staff, stayed together and intact for the most part throughout my whole 6 years. And I think that's really, really important. We were able to retain a lot of players in difficult times when retention was hard. But we also were able to recruit some incredible young men that at the end of the day believed in what we were doing. And then they put it together. We had some terrific players there. Obviously everybody knows Baylor, but Doug Wilson, even Matt Mims, just guys that have been there, Charlie Easley, Luke Apple, just different guys that William Kyle Zeke Mayo. I could go on and on. They're just great players but we had continuity, and we had guys in our program for 5 and 6 years that when the COVID thing was going through. And I think that really, really helped our success rate. And, we valued the student athlete experience, and we really, really made sure that our guys were enjoying the process that we were going through, and they really valued that. So they stuck around. It continues to get harder to keep players, with the NIL piece now, but we're still going to, continue to value the experience that we provide our guys here at Drake, and obviously being able to help them with the NIL piece along the way will certainly hopefully keep us in the mix to retain players.
Eric Henderson, the dad, Eric Henderson, the husband, when you've been at a place for so long, as you've been at South Dakota State, like, and maybe not to peel back the curtain too far, but just like, what are those conversations like with the family? Because I can't imagine this is just dad walking in going, Alicia, kids, sit down. We're going to Des Moines. Like, that it's got to be, there's got to be some sort of a consensus that this is a good idea for everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. That'd be pretty selfish if I did that. But, like you said, Jeff, I mean, we were in Brookings for 9 years. And when you're at a place and for that long, you build some pretty darn good relationships, and relationships that are pretty heartfelt and genuine. And so those were some difficult times, right? And you have to make sure you're looking out for your kids and my wife. And when we're going closer to home, because I'm an Iowa guy, that helps. My kids can be around their cousins a little bit more than they have been in the past. I get to see my mom and my dad a little bit more, and they get to see their grandma and grandpa a little bit more. And so those are things that help. But at the end of the day, our kids sacrifice a lot, like a lot of people's, but a coach's kid really does. And so they also should get to experience some things that maybe others don't. And so we talk about those type of things, and they're super stoked to be, Bulldogs. Not that there wasn't a few hard days, but they're really, really excited to come to Des Moines and meet new friends. And with social media and stuff, it's not like you're losing friends from Brookings. It's a little easier to be in contact with those guys nowadays, but it was hard. I'll tell you that much.
How did the first meeting with Griff, the Bulldog, go?
That put a lot of smiles on their faces, so that made it a little bit better, especially my little guy, and he was pretty fired up. Kyler, can we get a Bulldog now too, Dad? And it's like, no, we'll just have Griff be our friend.
They're a whole deal. So yes, it's kind of like grandparents with when the grandkids come over. You get to give them back at the end of the day. You don't have
we can't do that yet, but
let's talk about recruiting. If my math is right, I think you guys have signed 8 or 9. You brought a couple kids with you that you had signed at South Dakota State. You brought one player, I believe, with you that had played for you up there. Just from a transition standpoint, how helpful is it just to have at least some guys that you are familiar with, rather than walking in the door and it's just 15 brand new faces?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, to be able to bring Owen with us from South Dakota State, and then a couple of those recruits that we had committed to us, I think was really important, because they knew what we're all about, right? They've been through the culture. They've been up to campus at South Dakota State several times. So to be able to have some of that familiarity with our program and have some of those guys come with us and be a part of it, I think is really, really important. But at the end of the day too, when you look at the success rate of teams that are successful throughout the year, you have to have some older guys that are going to be a part of that as well. So to be able to dip into that transfer portal and get 6 other transfers other than Owen, I felt like was extremely important. The experience that they've had, the battles that they've been through is really, really important. And then just the physicality piece of understanding of what college basketball is all about, I think is really valuable. But now I think we got a roster that can compete, for a championship. But it's our job as a staff to make sure, and their job as well. But nobody's going to be able to do it alone. And how connected can we get this group in a short amount of time is really, really going to be important.
Is it fair to say this is the most work you've ever had to do in the transfer portal?
Yeah, that would be very fair, right? At South Dakota State, we would get one, here and there, but honestly, we were able to retain so many guys. We didn't dip into the transfer portal all that much, and if we did, there usually was a connection, whether it was local or one of the coaches had a connection, like. Obviously, what we did with Oscar Clough last year and the impact that he was able to have on our program was huge, right? But we also started, at times we started 4 freshmen with him, and so we didn't always just jump right into that transfer portal. But I felt like this year in particular here at Drake and in we didn't compromise our values with going into the transfer portal. We made sure we did our homework and found guys that we felt like fit and valued the same things that we did, and so that was pretty fun, honestly. And to be able to give guys opportunities that maybe they weren't getting at other places, we're pretty excited about that. Now it's our job, like I said, to make sure to put that all together and make sure they're connected and make sure that they understand that the good of the whole is the most important thing.
You are coming to a program now that has been to the last 3 NCAA tournaments. They have been to 4 of the last 5. Is it more daunting as a head coach coming to a new school to come to a place that has no tradition and they're like, listen, we need you to build this thing and try to get to the top of the mountain, or walk in where they're at the top of the mountain and they would really prefer to stay there for the immediate and long-term future?
I mean, there's probably advantages to both, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. But when I took over at South Dakota State, there wasn't a whole lot of difference, to be honest with you. I mean, you probably know the history with Scott Nagy being in the league. The job that he did at South Dakota State, especially from the transition of going from Division II to Division I, and having a few of those lean years in that time, but then being able to establish a foundation of success, a continued period of time, was incredible. And then TJ, I was, one of his assistants, but we went to the NCAA tournament 2 out of the 3 years that he was the head coach there. And so to have to step into that situation, from being a high school principal 5 years before that, like you said, in the high
Right.
school level, to step into that situation, it was really, honestly, I didn't even think about it that much, and so I've been in those shoes before, and so to do it again here at Drake, honestly, I just don't even really think about it. I'm just very proud of the success that Darren and Ben had, the last 5 or 6, 7 years, and to be able to come in after those guys, what they did. I'm a lucky dude, man. I'm so lucky. I'm very fortunate to do that, and we're going to do the very, very best we can, and we're going to worry about doing it the right way, and whatever happens happens. There's too many variables and things that you can't control that can dictate your record, can dictate if you make it to the NCAA tournament or not. And so we're not going to worry about those kind of things. We're going to worry about what we can control, and we're going to do the very best we can, and let the results speak for themselves.
6 weeks since you've been hired, I'm sure there's still a transition from South Dakota State moving down. Are we still living out of a suitcase, or do we at least have a drawer somewhere?
There's no drawer. Well, there's not a drawer that's consistent. I know that. But you know what? One of my very best high school friends is here, and fortunately, he's letting me bunk up with him for the most part.
Nice.
And so that's been fun. Honestly, I haven't been around him this consistently in a long period of time, but to be able to spend time with him and others that I'm very familiar with has been pretty special. But that's the hardest part, is being around from those little shavers. I mean, FaceTime's one thing, but being able to give them a squeeze, and not being able to give them a squeeze, honestly, for 5, 6, 7 days in a row isn't easy. But we're managing it, and sooner rather than later, they'll be here with me, and it will be a lot better when that's the case.
Drake basketball is in good hands. The head coach, Eric Henderson, thank you so much for the time. I know there's a lot of work to get back to, so I'll let you get at it. Thanks for coming on today, and we'll talk soon.
Jeff, you're a good man, and I can't wait to get to know you better. And I'm excited to be in this league. I know there's great coaches, and it's going to be a battle every night, but that's something I'm looking forward to.
Thanks, Coach. Have a good weekend.
You got it, my man.
All right, there's Eric Henderson. Man, I got so many of these guys fooled. Just good man. Bless him. That is, I mean, that was the 1 hour press conference that we sat through. Just the energy and the enthusiasm, you can tell. I mean, he is ready to roll, and they are, like I said, I think they're at 9, and I haven't done. We're getting to the point now. I said we'll start doing that here by the end of the month. That we'll finally kind of be set on what we've got in terms of rosters. But with 9 coming in, a couple holdovers, still a little bit of work to do there at Drake to get his roster ready to roll. But it certainly appears. And again, the guy's won. I mean, that's it. I mean, to go to South Dakota State and be there for 6 years to win 4 regular season titles, finish no worse than third, which is what he finished his last season. I was like, man, you finished third. It's not. It's time to go. But 4 titles, get to the NCAA tournament twice. Just an outstanding job. And so. Big shoes to fill, but he seems more than ready and able to fill those. All right, a couple other news and notes this morning before we let you get out of here on a Friday. And an old friend alert, as former Valparaiso wing Isaiah Shaw has signed with Northern Arizona, 6'7" wing from Italy. 2 years at Grand Canyon, was able to redshirt one of those seasons due to injury, played just 7 games his first year at Grand Canyon. 1 year at Valpo, 5 points, played about 13 minutes a game, 41.5% from the field. But he's got 2 years of eligibility left going to Northern Arizona. And really, as much as anything, spending a little more time on this maybe than I would on our old friend alerts as they find new homes, is just the fact that is an absolute A+ signing graphic. I mean, I think anytime any player anywhere can announce their signing, commitment, whatever it may be, we always see them in the uniforms, maybe dribbling a ball against a fancy background. I think when you can stand there with an axe over your shoulder, I think that's A+ content, and certainly from the Lumberjacks of Northern Arizona, it certainly fits in nicely there. But good luck to Isaiah Shaw down there in Arizona. All right, the one final piece of news this morning, and that is from the coaching ranks at Illinois State, as Ryan Peden has hired Mike Nettie as an assistant coach. Peden was at Ohio State before he came to Illinois State from 2017 to 2022. Nettie was a special assistant there at Ohio State from 2017 to 2022, and then he was promoted to an assistant coach. Peden goes to Illinois State. Nettie gets promoted with Chris Holtman there for 2 seasons from 2022 to 24. Holtman, of course, has left Ohio State now at DePaul, getting ready for year number 2. But Nettie now is being reunited with his old colleague and now his new boss, Ryan Peden, up there in Normal at Illinois State. All right, I think that about does it here on this Friday morning edition of Morning in the Valley. Glad you were with us today. Again, coming up next Friday, or next Wednesday, rather. Today's Friday. Next Wednesday, we will talk with Scott Nagy, the now second-year head coach of the Southern Illinois Salukis. More coaches, more players coming up in the bullpen here in the coming weeks here on the show. But if you have not done it yet, please head on over to YouTube and search Morning in the Valley. Subscribe there. Helps get us a little more, a few more eyeballs on us, and help this show continue to grow as we try to give you year-round coverage of Missouri Valley Conference men's and women's basketball. All right, that does it for today. Happy Mother's Day. If there's any mothers randomly listening this morning, thanks for hanging around. Happy Mother's Day to you early coming up on Sunday, and we will be back Monday morning, 9 a.m. right here on Morning in the Valley.